is Adora and at the age of 7 I published my first book, Flying Fingers, Mastering the Tools of Learning Through the Joy of Writing. And more recently I published a second book called Dancing Fingers, and this is a book of poetry that I co-authored with my older sister. So research skills are really important for life and for school, as you're going to find out. Research is crucial in many aspects of both academic, personal, and business life. And research skills truly help you live your life to the fullest. In order to build these life skills, we practice research at school by working on essays and other research projects. When you write a paper for school, you need to use research to find information, evidence, and supporting details. And you've also probably used research in your own life to determine things like the best kind of shoe to wear, or even something like what brand of pet food to buy. Research is also used in business. So pretty much research is everywhere and you can't escape it. You might be using it to determine where a customer base is located, business growth, profit margins, and countless other things. So how do you use research? Would anyone like to share? How do you use research?
The internet.
The internet? So you use the internet to do research? What do you use research for?
I use it for essays.
Use it for essays, yeah, exactly. So you might use it for essays, you might use it, use the internet to do research. There are really countless ways that you might use research. From clothing, to travel, to pets and food. So today we'll learn how to find research from both print and online sources, how to organize and use that research effectively, how to evaluate sources of information, and then cite them. So step number 1 is finding a topic. Now you guys are doing your career research, so does anyone want to tell me what are some careers you're interested in?
I want to be a masseuse.
You want to be a masseuse? Was that what I heard?
Yeah.
Okay, great. For a second I thought I heard Dr. Seuss, and then my logical brain solved that. Okay, anyone else? Career they'd like to share?
Coach.
A coach? Okay. Anyone else?
Secretary.
Secretary. Okay, so it looks like we have 3 different careers: masseuse, coach, secretary. Let's get one more to add to that.
Video game designer.
Video? I'm sorry?
Video game designer.
Video game designer. Okay. That sounds like a fun job. Alright, so there are lots of different careers that you have available, and you're probably going to be doing research on each one of those. So let's start with researching from print sources. When I say print sources, what exactly am I referring to?
Book printer.
Books. Not quite a printer. Well, print sources, yes. They are usually books. They might also be magazines, newspapers. Those are all print sources because they're obviously print. So here's tip number 1. Use your local library to find books on your topic. And don't be afraid to ask for help from your librarians. So when you're looking for information, start at the computer catalog where you can search for books. So for instance, at the King County Library System home, I might be able to search for a book based on a keyword. So does anyone want to tell me what a keyword is?
The main word.
The main word, exactly. The main word you would use to describe your job that you're interested in going into. So for instance, for coach, you might think of words that have to do with that, like sports, and those would be keywords. So library catalog search tip number 1 is use keywords. And use keywords to search for books on your topic, and keywords can include the title, author, and subject, if you know of a specific book, but also relating to a career, maybe the things that have to do with it. Also include related words. So brainstorm synonyms to expand or narrow your search. For example, if you're writing about threatened polar bears, here are some possible related words. Global warming, wilderness, threatened or endangered animals would all be related words. Now, you could also just go to the shelves and pick out books and flip through them to see if they are relevant to you. And once you've found a book that's useful, you should check the bibliography for other relevant works. So does anyone want to tell me what the bibliography is?
Your sources.
It's the sources, more specifically, it's the list of sources in the book. So for instance, let me see if I can, oops, wrong one. Yeah, there we go. Okay. These are two books I have here, Plate Tectonics and Short History of Nearly Everything. And if you take a look, you'll see this is the bibliography right here, which is a huge giant list. So this is a list of all the sources that the guy who wrote this book consulted when he was writing this book. And it's in super small print because there's a ton of stuff there. So a bibliography is a list of sources. And why might you want to look at that when you're browsing a book?
Because it could help you find sources.
It could help you find more sources, exactly. Looking at the bibliography, you could check out some of the books that whoever wrote that book checked, and then find those books and look at them. Another reason you might want to look at a bibliography.
Find sources you didn't know about.
Find sources you didn't know about is one, but maybe why would you put a bibliography at the end of your essay or a book?
So people know what you used.
So people know what you use, and also so you avoid plagiarism, so that you avoid copying other people's stuff without giving them credit. The bibliography is where you give them credit. So bibliography is handy to check and use. For number one, it gives you sources you might not know about before to check in and look into. Number two, it allows you to verify the accuracy of the source that you're checking. And then number three, it's I would say it's good practice just looking at them so that you have a better idea of how to form your own. Using an index. What's an index?
The source in the back of the book.
Not quite. Actually, the index is the alphabetical listing of all the terms that were used in the book. Let me see if this one has one. So for instance, in this plate tectonics book, you'll see marsupials 45 to 46, mercury 105, 108, meteorologist 17. And what that's saying basically is those are the pages where those words occur. So if you're looking for a specific part about, say, meteorologist, then you would go to that page and you know that. So an index would be an alphabetical reference list giving the location of where a topic is mentioned in the text. And then, as you probably already know, books are organized into two broad categories, fiction and non-fiction. Sometimes it's organized under the Dewey Decimal System, Library of Congress system, by the author's first and last name. It really varies. So, print sources, there you go. Check the index, check the bibliography, use a catalog. Those would be some tips for researching from books. Now we're moving on to researching from online sources. Raise your hand if you think you do most of your research online. I see a lot of raised hands. I know that when I asked you how do you use research, you said the internet. So researching from online sources is really important. Breaking piece of news here. Did you know that Britney Spears was killed in a car accident? Or that robots were used to win the Spanish-American War of 1898? Raise your hand if you believe me.
No.
I see one brave hand like dash up for a second back there. Well, as I found on the internet, so it's got to be true. Well, as you might have heard, not everything on the internet is true these days, or I don't think it ever was. So, if not everything on the internet is true, should we still use the internet for research? What do you think?
Yeah.
I hear a lot of yeses. For me, I think that the internet is kind of like the world. There are some good places and there are some bad places, and nobody said, oh, the world has some bad places, so let's not live here. Now, research is the search for information that allows us to create informed essays, rich stories, winning science projects, and cool blogs and web pages. And we research to discover facts. For example, Mexican bandit and revolutionary Pancho Villa was born in Durango, Mexico. Once we have the facts in place, we research more to add detail to our project. For example, Mexican bandit and revolutionary Pancho Villa was born in Durango, a state of craggy mountains and gorgeous blue skies. If you follow basic safety rules and learn how to spot tricksters, the internet can provide amazing photographs, source documents such as journal entries and letters, and treasure troves of accurate information. Here's tip number 3. Your most basic and important tool is your search engine. Anyone would like to give me an example of a search engine?
Google.
Google, that's one. Here.
Ask.com.
Wikipedia.
Ask.com. Wikipedia. Wikipedia is not quite a search engine. It has a search tool for the articles on that site, but a search engine is something that crawls pretty much everything on the web. So Google would be an example, Ask.com would be an example. Any others? Yahoo?
MSG.
Bing? Yeah. Okay, great. So those are a few search engines. Google is, of course, the most famous. Other search engines include Yahoo, Bing, and Ask.com. But even if you choose the right search engine, it doesn't immediately guarantee that you'll find all the information you need. So let's pretend that you are writing a research paper about Paris, France, and the French Revolution. I am going to head over to my great friend, Google, and search Paris, France, or Paris. Let's just search Paris. So I search Paris, and I get Paris Convention and Visitor's Office. Things to do in Paris, current local time in France. Whitney Houston says allergies, not drugs behind tour day. I don't know how that got in there. Paris Hilton and Las Vegas Hotel and Casino, Paris, Las Vegas Hotel. So a lot of results that I didn't want. If I'm researching about Paris, France, and the French Revolution, what's wrong with the search I just did?
It's not specific enough.
It's not specific enough. Exactly. So here's tip number 4. Narrow your search. If I search Paris, I'm going to get Paris Hilton in there. So I want to get that out. Paris, France, I'll get Paris Hilton out. And I'll probably get the Paris Hotel and Casino out. But I might not quite get what I want. So in the end, I will want to search the most specific thing. Paris, French Revolution. Another thing you can do is if you want to return results from one site only, so if you just want to search that site, then you can do a handy little thing called site:pbs.org. So let's say I want to return results from pbs.org or from history.com. I do site:whatever that website is. You can also try searching a trusted website such as pbs.org or Britannica Encyclopedia. Some other good websites to research include NPR, BBC, and NOAA, or the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. So try searching trusted websites, ones that you know, that you've used before, that you know are accurate. Once you find a web page or article that contains information that may be useful to you, it's time to play detective. A good detective runs background checks on people involved in a case, and as a researcher, you'll want to do the same. If you find a good web article, type the author's name into a search engine, or look on Amazon.com to see if they've written any good books on the top, or books on the top. So, for instance, that stuff I got about Durango came from an article called The Food of Durango, Mexico's Wild West on the Next Connect website. And it says it's by Karen Hirsch-Graber, and that name is linked, so I could click on that link, and it would take me to Karen Hirsch-Graber, Senior Food Editor for MexConnect, and a full bio. What I could also do is I can copy her name, I can go to Google, and I can paste her name, and I see Karen Hirsch-Graber, Menu and Kitchen Consulting, Karen Hirsch-Graber, author in Mexico, books by Karen Hirsch-Graber. So what might I learn from that search about Karen Hirsch-Graber?
That it's true.
It might be true, yeah, because she's written books, she's a senior food editor, she's done research. It shows that she's probably an expert on the topic. So if I am looking for an article that's going to be true, that's going to be reliable, I want to say I'm an expert, which it looks like she is. So that would be one example of something you can do in order to research the author. So here are the strategies for doing a background check on an author. Try clicking on the author's name. So I clicked on Karen Hirsch-Graber, and it took me to a short bio. You can also copy and paste the author's name to a search engine and see what comes up. Now, obviously, if you come across someone with a name like Bob Smith, that might be a little more complicated. So what you might want to do is, if they have a common name, like say Bob Smith, then you would do Bob Smith plus Mexico or their area of expertise. So click on the author's name, search their name, see if they've written either books on the topic or written other articles. So if you saw an article by me about AP Calculus and you search my name, you will find out that I know absolutely nothing about the topic. So there's tip number 6, investigate the author. Here's a source checklist for authors. Is the writer qualified to write on this subject? Is the person an expert or an eyewitness to the events described? Is the source complete? Does the author document his or her claims to other source materials? Are those credible? And tip number 7, it's not good enough to run background checks on the authors. Investigate the website. So some websites are safe bets because they represent an organization that you already know about and trust. But others might be unfamiliar to you and thus more questionable. So here are the questions to ask while investigating a website. Is the grammar and punctuation correct? Why do you think that would be important?
Wait, will you say that again?
Yes. Why would the grammar and punctuation being correct be important?
Because it shows an experienced writer.
It shows that they're an experienced writer. If it's correct, that's one thing. Very good. Another thing is, if they don't care about their grammar and punctuation, they might not care too much about the facts either. So that would be something to keep in mind. Does the information match what you already know? If you go to a website and it says 1 plus 1 equals 3, but you know that 1 plus 1 equals 2, then it'd be suspicious. Has the website been updated recently? What does that have to do with anything?
It shows outdated information.
Yeah, it might have outdated information. If it was updated, say, in September of 2008, and you're looking for current information about, or at least up-to-date information about the presidential election 2008, going to a website dated from September might not be a great idea. What are the organization's goals? So, if you go to the IAMS Pet Food website, what is the IAMS Pet Food website's goal?
To be better than everybody else.
Might be to be better than everyone else. I'm guessing it's to sell you pet food. If you go to the IAMS Pet Food website, you'll notice basically what they're saying is our pet food is the best. Buy it. So that would be usually their goal. If you go to a .com website, often it will be trying to sell or advertise. And does the website include sources that tells where the web authors obtain their information? Just like you need a bibliography in a nonfiction book, you want a list of sources on a nonfiction website. So, let's check out a website called All About Explorers. Why don't we? So, if I go to Explorers A to Z, let's choose an article. What explorer should I be doing research on?
Lewis and Clark.
Lewis and Clark. Okay, sounds great. So I'll hit Lewis and Clark, and let's see what it says. I'll zoom in a bit. Oops. Meriwether Lewis and William Clark were born simultaneously in neighboring counties in Virginia on August 1st, 1773. Oddly enough, it was precisely 30 years and 30 days after their birth that they began what would become their legacy, the expedition that today bears their name. But all of that was to come later in the varied and fascinating parallel lives that each of them led. Though they grew up within spitting distance of each other, once when he was 9, Clark was in fact reprimanded by Lewis's father regarding a suspicious pile of watermelon seeds near Lewis's yard gnome. They attended different schools, different churches, and only knew each other in passing. In middle school, both students were good students, their favorite class being the exploratory period. They were both entranced by the voyages of such famous explorers as Christopher Columbus, Henry Hudson, and Ferdinand Magellan, and in 1795 they became the charter subscribers to the National Geographic magazine. Both were so mesmerized by the stunning color of photographs and the glossy publication that they determined, completely separately, to become world-famous explorers. Their dream didn't become reality right away, however. It wasn't until 1803 when Thomas Jefferson saw an intriguing brief posting by Napoleon Bonaparte on Craigslist for a large tract of land. Jefferson, of course, won the item, outbidding both Sam Walton and Oprah Winfrey. Okay, I think we've seen enough. What is wrong with this article?
Oprah wasn't alive.
Yeah, Oprah wasn't alive. That's right. Napoleon Bonaparte, do you think he sold Louisiana over Craigslist? No, probably not. They were both entranced by... what about charter subscribers to National Geographic magazine, stunning color photographs in the glossy publication? So this is called information not matching what we already know. We know that Craigslist was not around in 1803. We know that Oprah Winfrey was not around back then. And they're saying that a human resources director there, too. I'm pretty sure they didn't have HR back then. Okay, so yeah, ton of stuff. We know it doesn't match with the information we already have in our head. So we, and that's usually when follow your instincts. If you know that that's not right, then don't trust it. So it didn't match what we already know. The About or About Us section of a website can provide important clues about an organization's goals. So why don't we head over to All About Explorers and click About and see what it says. All About Explorers was developed by a group of teachers as a means of teaching students about the internet because we wanted to make a point about finding useless information even in a site which looked at first to be fairly well put together. All of the Explorer biographies here are fictional. So, there. Okay, well we got that neatly wrapped up. So why is it important to understand organizations' goals when you're researching on the web?
Make sure they're not doing the same thing that the teachers are doing.
Yeah, to make sure that their goal is to spread information to help you learn and not to, say, sell you something. That's usually a good way to look at it. So when using an organization's website, stay aware of any bias that organization might have. Anyone want to tell me what bias is?
One-sided.
One-sided, exactly. If you're prejudiced in favor of one thing or another, if you're one-sided, that would be biased. So there are many reasons to create a website: to provide information, sell products or services, entertain, convince, or sometimes all of the above. So here's tip number 9. Domain names such as .org and .com can help us decipher a website's purpose. So let's quickly do an activity here. Guess the domain. .edu. What does .edu stand for?
Education.
Education. So what do you think would be the goal of a .edu website?
To educate you.
Educate you. Yeah, that's a pretty straightforward one. Okay, so what about .com? What does that stand for?
Commercial.
Commercial. And what would a commercial website's goal be, probably?
Tell you something.
Sell, entertain, advertise. And a lot of times, there are commercial websites that have great resources. Like if you go to history.com, for example, the History Channel's website, that they'll have fun mini sites and good articles, but there will be advertising on the side, and they'll probably promote their channel. So some .com websites are good, but they do make money somehow, usually. So, .org.
Organization.
Organization. What might an organization's goal be on their website? An organization would be usually a non-profit, like a charity or a activist group or something. So, what do you think they'd be trying to do on their website?
Help.
Explain.
It might be to help. It might be collect donations. If you've ever gone to, say, the UNICEF website, that's the United Nations Children's Fund, which is a .org, then there is a button to click for donations. So it might be to collect donations, it might be to promote their organization. .gov.
Government.
Government. And what would a government website's goal be?
Money.
Usually, if you go to a government website, like, say, USA.gov, then it'll usually be kind of a portal where you go to different departments, you see information about the government, usually. So it would probably be for information. And finally, .mil. That one's kind of a challenge one. .mil.
Military.
Military. Great. Okay. And their goal might be to recruit, it might be to share information about the military. There's really a lot of things it could be. Okay, so from the domain suffix, you can glean a lot about the website. Going to a .edu, you know that their goal is probably to educate, so those are usually pretty good ones for your research. Alright, moving along. Some other ones I didn't mention. .net stands for network. It's often used by internet service providers and web hosting companies. Might also be a business. .biz is a small business website, and .info is a resource website. So there we go. Tips for online research. Narrow your search, search trusted websites, investigate author, investigate the website. Unfamiliar equals more questionable, and use domain names to give you clues about content. Now I'm going to skip over to citing sources, organizing and using research actually, sorry. So keeping track of information. Let's say you're at the library and you're looking at a reference book, so when you can't check out, you might want to take notes on it, just on a text card or on a computer. And be sure to get the information down from books and websites you read because you will have to cite them in your bibliography later. Which brings me to citing your sources. This is what you want to avoid: plagiarism, using another person's work without giving them credit. Give them credit in your bibliography. So for example, I was recently writing a research paper on the geological effects of earthquakes. Actually, I'm still writing for school. And here's my work cited page. It's incomplete. These are just the print sources I looked at, and this is MLA formatting. And so as you can see, it has this title: World Geography, Short History of Nearly Everything, Plate Tectonics, Scholastic Atlas of the World. And so you want to have a works site or a bibliography page to show where you got your information. And it's really important to do that carefully. And so you guys will be using MLA formatting, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so MLA formatting is a really common type of formatting for a bibliography. And another thing, sometimes, I'm not sure if you'll have to do this, for mine I had to do internal citations. So for instance, yearly landslides killed nearly 1,500 people around the globe between 1969 and 1993. And then in the thing in quotes here, mass wasting and mass wasting processes, that means that that's a website. So I had to do internal citations. I'm not sure if you'll have to, in addition to the works cited page. Always give your source for quotations. So if you're just copying and pasting something from a website, you're typing something up from a book, put quotes around it, remind yourself that came from someone else, and cite them accordingly. Summarize information. If you ever read a page from a book and you're summarizing that out, cite them. Paraphrased information, if you're putting in your own words. Facts that aren't common knowledge. So Barack Obama is the President of the United States. You don't need to cite anyone for that. Ideas including opinions and thoughts about what particular facts mean. This paragraph in this book means this to the character. I have to cite that. Maps, charts, graphs, data, and other visual or statistical information. Okay, so that's what you want to cite for. Sorry if I've been going a little bit fast. I've been trying to cram this in. Alrighty, and now, does anyone have any questions?
How was your day?
How was my day? Oh, pretty good. I wouldn't say it was particularly noteworthy. Now, have you guys been taking notes on some of the information covered?
Yeah.
Great. Who would like to tell me one thing they learned then from those notes?
Use the library.
Use a library? Yeah. That's a good first step, definitely. You want to find books because it is good in a research paper. You shouldn't just use the internet. It's good to cite books as well and have at least one print source in there.
Use a keyword and .edu is reliable.
Use keywords and .edu are usually reliable. Yeah, that's very good. Actually, a lot of the I didn't add the websites to my thing yet, but a lot of the sources that I use were .edu websites. Very handy. So yeah, good stuff.
Investigate your authors and websites.
Investigate authors and websites, exactly. You know, it might sound a little paranoid, but you can never go too far when it comes to running these background checks. So yeah, it's fun to be a web detective.
I have a question for you. What made you want to do writing?
What made me want to do writing? I would say a lot of it was because I loved to read from really early age. I started reading when I was 3 and a half, and I thought, well, these authors are having a fun time writing. I bet since I'm having a fun time reading, and I wonder, maybe I would have a fun time writing. So I just kind of put 2 and 2 together, and I wanted to start writing, and I ended up writing when I was 4. Another thing was because my older sister was writing, and I thought, oh, if she can do that, I better be able to do that too. Kind of sibling rivalry. And she's 2 years older than me. So I started writing, and if you take a look at some of my early stories, they revolve mainly around going to restaurants and eating cheeseburgers. But I really wrote pretty much every day, and practice makes perfect. I'm not saying my writing is perfect, but it was definitely, I liked it from an early age, and I got used to it, and so it's really become a habit.
Are you writing any current books right now?
Am I writing any current books right now? Well, I'm working on a lot of poetry for a possible upcoming poetry book. And also I'm writing lots of blog posts. So that's mostly what I'm writing right now. I kind of go in my writing in phases like short stories, then poetry, then nonfiction, then poetry. Yeah, it's kind of like that.
How often do you write poetry?
How often do I write poetry? Usually every few days.
What's your favorite kind of writing?
What is my favorite kind of writing? That one's hard to answer because one of the reasons I like poetry a lot is because it's really quick and convenient for me. I can usually whip something up in a few minutes. On the other hand, I like that stories and short stories let you get really descriptive and you have a lot more freedom, or at least I personally feel like I have a lot more freedom when I'm writing, say, a story than I do in a poem. And that's possibly because I impose a lot of structure on my poems. And I like nonfiction as well, but there are times when I'm writing, say, a research paper and I really wish that I could make something up, and obviously you don't want to do that. So I would say I like them all for their own separate reasons. It's hard to choose one favorite.
Is that a giant smartboard behind you?
This is actually an active board, so it's an interactive whiteboard, kind of like a smartboard, but this one's an active board.
Okay.
What's your favorite poem that you read so far?
What is my favorite poem that I've written so far? It's this one that I actually am not sure if I titled, that I wrote a few months ago. Let me see if I can get it up and I can read it.
Okay.
It might be a little bit long, I'll warn you.
So fast.
Oh, they're marking how fast you type. You have to tell them how many words a minute you type.
Oh, I type about 70 to 121 words per minute. I don't usually type 121. 121 is like if I'm running from, actually I wouldn't be typing if I was running from a burglar, but I don't know. If my hands were running from a burglar, that's how fast I'd be typing. Actually, that 121 minutes or words per minute would be, I think that's how fast I typed when I was doing a typing test or something. Let me see if I can find this thing. Okay. Okay, and some of my poems are supposed to be funny, and others aren't. That's odd. I can't find it. Let me search.
Usually rhyme.
Yes, my poems do usually rhyme. Actually, my sister who writes freeform poetry, she always criticizes me about rhyming my poems instead of just writing them without rhymes. I've occasionally written one that doesn't have a rhyme, but it's really hard for me to resist that. That's odd. Let's see. Any other questions I can answer? I don't want to be.
Why did you choose homeschool instead of regular school?
Oh, I actually go to an online public school, the Washington Virtual Academies. So it's a lot like regular school in that we have teachers, field trips, homework, but the curriculum is delivered online. So here's, I think my latest favorite poem. I actually wrote it in October. I didn't realize it was that long ago. Okay. In the theater off the street, a ballerina's dancing feet against the backdrop of a curtain, a dark artistic red for certain. Entranced the watching crowd, the gaudy ladies who exclaim aloud, what grace but force the purse. In the townhouse in the square, nearby the courthouse where the judge deliberates with gavel, outside the workmen walk on gravel. The housewives walking swiftly by, buying umbrance and rye. The hawkers sell with addle hands, and in the farmer's house of stone, near where yesterday's crop was grown, the farmer grumbles about his moneys, while his daughter reads the bunnies. In the newspaper that was made, in building under Peter's shade. The lights go out, sun is down. In a manor on a moor, where the theater was before, a moody man walks through the hall, while his mother knits a shawl, and his sister lies asleep, dreaming, dancing feet, and the theater off the street. So I think that's my favorite poem. Yeah. Anyway, one last question I can take. Anyone?
Where do you get your inspiration for your poems?
Where do I get my inspiration for my poems? Usually from things I see around me. Sometimes they just come kind of randomly. But I know you guys have to go, so I won't keep you any longer. And I hope you all have a great day with your research, and thank you very much.